Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Straight Vibing with Lady J. Happy Father's Day to the real dads out there, the real MVDs, most valuable dads. I hope you all have a super blessed day today. You are honored, respected, and appreciated. Now, for the nutbusters out there, now this day ain't for you, so you could just step aside and let the real men take their day and enjoy it as they're supposed to as kings. Anyways, I hope everybody is doing well. We are officially about to start summer. This is nice. We're about to hit stage 3 here where I live on July 1st. So we're excited to get rid of the masks and live back to somewhat of a new norm. Just to see how it's going to sway, that remains to be seen, but we ain't going to discuss that here. We just count the blessings when we got them and just move on from there. Anyways, the other day I did state that today I was going to talk about my adoption. So this is what I wanted to discuss. So I believe I was around 10 years old is when my mom had told me that I was adopted. And throughout growing up, I just told myself that I was satisfied with not knowing who she was. She gave me up for adoption. You know, at the time, it wasn't really a priority for me to find out what exactly happened. And years went on, I just never had the desire to. Here where I'm from, it is law that if you are adopted, you are allowed to get the information of your adoption. As far as the parent that put you up for adoption, there's information there that is up to them if they put it there. So I knew that my biological mom came from a family of, I believe, 6. My grandparents came from Europe. My grandfather came from Hungary. My grandmother came from Ireland. If I remember that right. It's either Ireland or Scotland. God forgive me, I know. I should know, but I don't. Anyways, I knew, things about her based off of, what was in the documentation, but I just didn't really have the desire to meet her. 2003, I decided I was watching a movie with my husband at the time. We were watching Antwone Fisher. And for those that have seen Antwone Fisher knows, it's about him finding his biological family. I have watched this movie before. And for some reason, after watching that movie that day, I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to look for her. So based off the little information that I had, I knew my birth last name. So me and my husband at the time were like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the listings in my city and we're going to work our way out with that last name, a particular last name. So I ended up calling one number and it just went to voicemail. I was like, okay. So then I tried the second number. The second number, I get a call, or a man answers the phone, sorry. And I told him, I said, my name is Janelle. I am looking for my biological mother. I don't know if you'd have any information, but, and this is what I laid out to him, in which he replied. He says, I might have somebody here that might be interested in talking to you about this, but can you call back at the top of the hour? This was like at 7 something. Told me to call back around 8. So, okay, I'm a little bit, concerned, wondering what the hell's going to happen. I called another number and that didn't go through. It was a failed number. And so I just decided to wait till 8 o'clock. Called at 8 and a woman picks up the phone. And I said, hi, my name is Janelle. And I gave my middle name because my parents, when they adopted me, they kept my first and my middle name. They were like, that's what my mom gave me. They weren't going to change it. So when I had brought it up to the woman that had answered the phone, she was like, oh my God. She's like, you were born in spring, right? And I was like, yeah, but I kind of found it odd that she couldn't recall the date. And then she just, responded, it was just a really tough time in my life. I really don't recall the date and what have you. So lo and behold, it's my biological mother. Find out through the discussion that my first and middle name was a namesake. She named me after her cousins, her favorite cousins. And yeah, it was, wow. It was overwhelming for me. I didn't, I had questions that I knew only she could answer. And I got some answers, but I wasn't fully content with what I was being told. I feel there is more to what she told me. She did keep me for 10 months. Social services did convince her to sign me over for adoption. And 10 months, I was put up for adoption. I was in a foster home for 3, and then my mom and my dad had adopted me. So when I had met my biological mom, I found out I had a brother. She kept my brother. Everybody raised my brother but her. She, just was just careless or whatever. And, I asked about my dad. She didn't really have much information on him, what have you. I was fortunate enough to meet my biological grandmother and grandfather and one of my aunties. My mom's auntie, or my mom's sister, of course. So when I met my biological grandparents, I found out that my grandfather was racist. I also found out that the family was, a couple of the members were atheist. Yeah, it was just, I was like, well, God didn't want me here, because God knows I would have been, I would have been disowned by the family. For those that don't know, my kids are biracial, so this wasn't going to fly over right with that family. But I had hung out with my biological mother a couple of times, and at that time I was married to my second husband, and of course, he was there, as support when I met her the first time. And the second time we went out for something to eat, and she had was dropping us off. Her boyfriend was driving, and she had said something to my husband and dropped the N-word. And my husband was from Clinton, North Carolina. He's passed on since, but South, people in the South don't play that, period. And, it was kind of like, wait, what? Oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. And she tried to backpedal, and I was like, okay, if she just called my husband that, she's going to end up calling my kids that. And we ain't having this shit. So that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I had talked to her a couple of times after that. I have seen this woman as recent as last year. I'll see her at the local farmer's market, and the few times that I have seen this woman since all this, when we met a couple of times or whatever, she has legitimately looked dead in my face, and just like that, she's gone. She just vanishes. I was just like thinking to myself, how, just goes to show where people are different. There is no way on God's green earth would I be able to, first of all, I kept my kids, but to go ahead and just, you see your kid and you just run, like you just, no acknowledgement, no nothing. Like, I feel there's a lot of shame there from her part. She's obviously feeling some kind of way, and as to what, I really don't care. When I met my biological grandparents, I was informed that my grandmother was going to try to adopt me, but it had been too late. My mom had already signed the papers over to social services. But I see that as a blessing in disguise, due to the fact of that just wasn't where I was supposed to be. And when it comes to being adopted, off of my beliefs and my research and stuff, people that have been adopted, there's an automatic spirit of rejection. They feel rejected. And for me, I mean, even though I was adopted into a loving home, I love my mom, to pieces. My dad, God rest his soul, he passed away in 2001, but I was raised in morals and all this kind of stuff. I was just brought up right. My biological mother had kept my brother, and seeing the lifestyle that my brother used to live, it was like I was spared of that. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, I think it was my last episode, When my parents had adopted me at 13 months, I was already touching myself down there. I was masturbating, if you will. That's really, really what it is. I was masturbating. So they are uncertain if this had happened while I was in foster care for 3 months, or did this happen at the time of the 10 months. I find out through my biological grandparents that my biological mother would leave me at the absolute hand of strangers with no food, no diapers, no nothing. Just leave me and just abandon me there. So when I find out that, my brother, me and my brother don't have the same father. My brother, his lifestyle was a lot different than mine. However, to a certain degree, he made some bad, unwise choices. And, he's doing really good now. He's got, 2 kids. He's, I don't know if he's married to the girl yet or whatever, but he's doing amazingly well. And we keep in contact, not as much as we should, but, we keep in touch. My thing that totally would get me is, how do you give birth to a child and you see that child or, growing up or what have you, and you have, you just run. How much shame do you have to be filled with to just not even say hi? And the last time that I actually engaged in a conversation with my mother, my biological, I don't even really want to call her my mother, my biological mom. The last time that we actually talked, we were supposed to get together for lunch. And my daughter wasn't feeling good, so I had to bow out. And I was like, my daughter wasn't feeling well. Can you believe this woman tried to make me feel guilty for choosing my daughter over her? She's into belly dancing, my biological mom. And, you see, I speak my truth here. She knew. I told her, I was like, I'm a dancer. And she's like, well, I dance for the love of dancing. I don't dance like how you dance. And it was just like, when I met her, it was just like, she just snubbed her nose at me. And when I see her, it's just like, you just put yourself on this fucking pedestal that you think you just this and that. And in actuality, you ain't shit. I'm thankful to God that I was adopted into a home where I was taught morals, taught to love myself. I was brought up in a right way. And then, of course, when I find out when she calls my husband the N-word, I'm thinking, well, she's going to call her grandkids N-word. I ain't having that shit. There's no way we were going to be accepted into this family based off of what I already knew. But back to what I was saying as far as the spirit of rejection, when you are going through that or rejection thing, there's many ways to mask that. For me, it came to sex. It came to being out there. It came to having attention and all that kind of stuff. And, it did hurt for a while to be like, how, like I just mentioned, you gave birth to me and you just totally just shut me out. Like, how do you live with yourself? I know everybody is different. What you do and what I do are different from each other. Our upbringing is different, what have you. But I would think, me as a mother, how? If me and my kid have a falling out, I already feel some kind of way of us having some kind of distance between us based off the fallout. But to sit there and have shame on something you decided to do, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a thing that, she left me at the hands of strangers. Maybe it took her till now to realize that she made some dumb moves. But to run from it, I just can't wrap my head around that thought process. So for me, it took a long time for me to realize that I dealt with my rejection in unhealthy ways. And that goes for a lot of people. They, use drugs, use sex, gambling, whatever. It's real shit. And people that are in the sex trade industry, again, I mentioned this before, high percentage of people that are in the sex trade industry have experienced some kind of sexual abuse or assault in their life at a young age. It makes sense. And despite of all this, to me, like, yeah, there's certain things that are damaging to a certain degree, but I never let it hold me back. Again, it was for myself to learn to love myself and to carry myself differently than what I have in previous. And at times we find that blaming someone's actions or situation that we're in, we tend to, I wouldn't say we blame it, use that as the blame, but it is the root of the issue. And when you get when you understand that, it makes it easier for you to deal with certain situations and move forward, right? Not for everybody, of course. Like I always say, everybody's different. Everybody takes to traumas differently and, executes different defense mechanisms or what have you. For me, I know, like my mom, my adopted mom, that's my mom. My biological mom, she's just my biological mom. But my mom prayed in the background that me and my biological would have a relationship. And I'm like, did you ever think that maybe God doesn't want that for me due to the toxicity of that whole scenario? That's not what God has for me. Not saying it isn't possible that he could restore that relationship, but I just know that where she's at and where I'm at are two different things. And even though I'm not, where I'm at, where I was when I met her back in 2003, there's still, where I'm at in my life, it's like, yeah, nah, you and me definitely can't hang out. And just seeing how could we even have something when you see me in public and you just are quick to disappear? I don't understand that. So why would I even want to have any type of a situationship with her? If anything, I thank her that she put me up for adoption and gave me an opportunity at a better life. Because God only knows what the hell else she would have exposed me to on top of what she already did. Does she know that I was sexually touched down there? That I was sexually abused? Does she know that? Who knows? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe there's 10,001 different scenarios I think that could be a possibility. I don't get fixated on it and lose sleep over it. Never have, never will. But I still feel there's stuff that I don't know. And maybe it's best I don't know. As far as my biological father, my grandmother has given me a name as to who the person is. I've attempted at that time when I met them, that was back again in 2004 when I met them. I searched the name, I tried to contact nothing, and I just left it dead after that. Have I had the desire to search for him? Yeah, I have. I sit there and I think I may have other siblings. I might have a really good relationship with them or whatever, but at the same time, my parents are my parents. My mom and dad are my mom and dad, even though my dad passed away in 2001. They are who I know as my mother and father. So to me, it's like, why would I want a relationship with anybody else? I mean, it could change. I don't know. I just know it isn't a priority right now for me to search down that avenue to see what it will pull up. If it's meant to be, it will happen. In the meantime, I count my blessings. My mom, I love her to pieces. She's my rock. She's taught me a lot about forgiveness and prayer and loving unconditionally. A lot of who I am is because of my mom. And my biological mom isn't even a fraction of that. My dad, I miss you, Dad. Happy Heavenly Father's Day to my dad. My dad was a hard worker. And man, we used to do so much together. And it's just like, those are the memories that I hang on to. Those are the things that mean the most to me. So biological to me doesn't mean shit. They just brought you here, and to you deadbeat dads out there, that's just like nutbusters is really what you are. I mean, that doesn't make you a parent. It's just DNA. You haven't taught your child how to ride a bike. Your child, you haven't had a discussion with your child due to, pressures from school or, not doing well in school or, extracurricular activities or anything like that. And to sit there and act proud because you DNA'd a kid, that doesn't make you a parent just because you have a DNA in them. I look at my biological mom and I'm just like, ugh. And in a way, I'm like, I don't even know if I'd want to know her because I don't want to know if I'm anything like her. I would think that I'm not due to how I am with people. And I feel I'm totally opposite than her. So that's where I thank God that he took me out of that situation and put me into something way more blessed. And we see it all too often that, biological, some people play it like it's a huge tie. No, it isn't a huge tie. It's just friggin' DNA. I mean, look at, my mom couldn't have kids. That's why I got adopted. There's so many reasons for adoption and 10,001 reasons as to why people do it. But at the end of the day, despite of where you come from, your roots, you have to know your self-worth. You are human. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to make wise choices. You're going to be selfish at times. It's just what we do, but don't use DNA as an excuse for anything. I know they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but that doesn't connect to biological. I'm not biologically connected to my mom, but there's a lot of things about my mom, me and her are alike, because it's learned, it was taught, the behavior or what have you, thought process and what have you. And of course, as we grow up, we evolve within ourselves to be our own individual outside of what we were taught at home. So I just want to say, for anybody who's watching this that comes from a broken home, whether you're adopted, whatever, don't let that take away from you. I did it for years. I've scarred myself for life because of choices that I made, because I was trying to find, something to make me feel worthy, or to give me that satisfaction or that nurturing. Or even though I was raised from a certain home, but there was still certain things that my mom and dad couldn't give me that I was trying to find elsewhere. But don't feel that because you're a product of rape or a product of adoption or a product of abuse. Don't use that as a tool to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and know your worth. That's what I had to say today. That's what I had to talk on. So Lady J is just Lady J. I've been through my stuff. You guys are starting to get to know me now as we're, going into episodes upon episodes. But I had to put this out there because I had seen a thing on one of my platforms, and it was a girl, and she was talking about adoption, and I was just like, yo, I can totally resonate with what she's going through as far as years of just putting yourself through trauma, and thought process and stuff like that. It's like anything else. It takes time. It's all about identifying and doing what you need to do where you need to do it at. And on that note, thank you for tuning in for Straight Vibing with Lady J. I haven't done the Fire Up Fridays. Summer's here, I ain't even going to lie. When I get caught up and people invite me or whatever, now that we're finally almost off this lockdown shit, oh my gosh, I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay. But I'm going to stick on the Sundays and Wednesdays for episodes. And the live, I will keep you posted with the lives. I do plan on doing lives on Friday, but I just don't want to do it every Friday unless I take you with me. Lady J will keep you posted. But thank you so much for the love and support. Thank you for chiming in. If you know anybody who needs this message or it needs to hear any of the messages that I have posted thus far, please feel free to share them. Because we are here to help one another. Feel free to reach out to me in the comment section on any of these episodes. Feel free. Let's have a talk. If you know somebody or, this is a time where we need to be there for one another. So this is where you know where to find me. Thank you so much for spending time with me, vibing out. I appreciate you guys and love you guys so much. Again, happy Father's Day. Keep rocking it out. Whatever your vibe is, keep vibing that vibe. And until the next vibe session on Wednesday, y'all be cool. Stay cool out there. And for all y'all that's busting sweat out there because it's so hot, especially you fellas with Niagara balls, wash it up, pat dry. Let's keep it funky free, okay? All right, y'all. Y'all stay blessed. We out of here.